Hello, I'm Philip Stoughton. I'm at Apex 2025 on the final day. My penultimate interview is with Chris Mitchell from IPC.
Great.
Chris, great to see you.
Thank
Good
you.
to chat as always.
Yes.
I talked to Alison about what's going on in Europe. I talked to Rich about what's going on here. And I've talked to a lot of EMS companies throughout this week. They're all looking for stability. They're all looking for an outcome. They're all figuring out how to navigate these choppy waters without creating too much of a pause in their business. The fact that you're able to bring those global views together is hugely valuable.
I think so. I mean, we certainly, in this environment, I think companies are looking for clarity.
Yeah.
Clearly, right? And to the degree that we have an ability to understand how governments are thinking about these issues globally, it does provide us this opportunity to provide insight to our members. And I think that's what we've been striving to do. And certainly I think what Alison and Rich have been really primarily focused on during this period of quite a bit of volatility.
Yeah. And you have other teams elsewhere in the world. You have people in India. You have other activities that are actually bringing a really important global picture, or at least globally, wherever electronics is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I oversee our government relations program as well as our industry intelligence program. And these are two programs that over the last 10 years have been growing.
Yeah.
And so, today we not only have global, we not only have government relations coverage globally, we are expanding that government relations team. So now we have a lead for North American government relations. We've just brought somebody on in Europe, and we're expanding into Asia as well. And so, again, I think it's just, during this period of volatility, being able to access data points, being able to understand the lay of the land so that you could make decisions with some greater confidence. And I think what we've seen thus far is a lot of companies just taking a pause until they get the clarity that they need.
Yeah. And I was asking Rich when that clarity is coming. Obviously, we hope April will show us a bit more clarity, but who knows? It's a fast moving world at the moment.
I mean, this is just my personal opinion. Especially in the U.S., I think what you're going to see is this next 6 to 9 months. There's going to continue to be volatility and a lot of questions as the administration kind of seeks to take advantage of this momentum that they have to refashion government in the way that they like, to be able to challenge some of the existing bilateral, multilateral relationships in the way that they would like to. And so I think you're going to continue to see that. I think over some period of time, though, it's going to start to settle. And as they feel that they are in a better position then to rebuild in a way that is consistent with the agenda that they brought into office, then I think that's when you'll start to see things calm down a little bit, and then you'll start to see a more positive, proactive agenda. And I think that's where there will be the greatest opportunities for the industry.
And I think behind the political discussion that I'm having, I've not talked about politics at a trade show so much before, so it's kind of a key topic. But behind that is the economic impact. So when we look at the US, concerns about a recession have been here for like the last 2 years, and it's like the recession that's around the corner that we never seem to get to, and the fact that we never get there is a good thing. In Europe, we have a new government in Germany. We have a substantial raising of debt ceilings, a lot of budget increases in the defense area. So all of those things are really important topics for the industry on both sides of the Atlantic. Being across that is hugely valuable to them, and the way you share that information with them adds a lot of value to them making better decisions.
But it is interesting though. On one hand, I think we should rightly be seen as global, and our the perspective that we bring to supporting the industry is global. In a very real way, a lot of our work is very local too, right? So when I think about the work that Alison is undertaking in Europe, that work is being driven by our European members, right? And so, obviously we take a lot of pride in that. But again, because we are member driven, we need to make sure that we are connecting with the members where they are, and those members are really, they are setting the direction for us.
Absolutely.
And certainly I think that's reflected in the reports that we've put out recently, and the work that we'll continue to do, right? So in Europe, we see really incredible opportunity to to help to revitalize the industry. I mean, it's still, as you know, not. It's many segments are struggling.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we need to figure out how do we revitalize the industry. And I do believe that in Europe, we have been successful in getting policymakers to understand that there is a problem that needs to be addressed. Now, have they figured out how to address the problem yet? No. Have we been giving them a lot of suggestions? Absolutely. There's still a lot more work to do, but I feel like we're making progress, and certainly given the changing geopolitical environment, it certainly is even more incentive to try to tackle these problems in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. It does feel like there's a bit of a renegotiation in the European-US relationship, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out throughout the year. I didn't realize that market intelligence and industry intelligence was also your remit. But it makes perfect sense. And when I think of the whole ecosystem, I think this is one of the reasons IPC is so strong. With that market intelligence, you can do a much better job of advocacy, but you can also do a much better job of, with both of those bits of data, of helping companies make better decisions.
And if you look at the direction of our industry intelligence, I think that's where it is increasingly focused, right? How do you help companies make business decisions based upon the data points that are out there? And so, a lot of what we're focused on is how do you pull in ever more data and be able to offer this data to the industry in ways that are both packaged and unpackaged, so that they can make those decisions, right? And I think this is especially important in places, as companies hedge their supply, diversify their supply chains. They're looking for new places to invest, and there's always questions about, what does the outlook look like? What are the costs? And so I think we have a valuable role to play, and I think that's what the industry intelligence team right now is more and more focused on.
Yeah, and I think moving that industry intelligence forward, I think is really important. We've got some reports in the industry that have been the same for 20 years. They're very dry. They're very kind of intense. They really offer data rather than insight, and actually being able to put that layer of insight, because you're bringing everything together and synthesizing it, that could be a game changer for the industry.
Well, and as you know, we have over the last, I'd say 5 to 6 years, increasingly brought greater authority within our organization. And so it's not just on the industry intelligence side with people like Sean Duberback, our chief economist, but it's elsewhere in the organization. Kelly Scanlon, who leads our sustainability initiative, and has been hugely important in helping to set priorities for the industry. Matt Kelly, of course, who he's been building out what is in effect an internal engineering team within IPC. That's really exciting. And while a lot of the attention is being paid to the work that they're doing on the projects that, for example, the solutions team has identified, it also contributes to the industry intelligence, right? So they've been, I would say, like, while we have an industry intelligence team that is, perhaps on paper small, it's really figuring out how does that industry intelligence team leverage insight across the organization and even outside of the organization, right? So that's been very exciting to see it grow and evolve.
Yeah, and I think people really want to see data that's accurate, data that's timely, and data that's delivered in a way that helps them. And it's kind of curious, because that's exactly what they're looking for from their equipment, from their production line. When they look at all this AI modeling that they can do on top of things, if the data's not right, they're not off to the races. So.
Well, it's a bit ironic, right? I feel like more and more we are deluged with data, and the question is, how good is that data? And to what degree can you make sense of it? Right. And so that's what we're trying to do, is trying to make sure that we have really solid data that we're working with, and then that we're, as you said, leveraging that data to offer real insight about what's happening in the industry.
Yeah, and I think the good thing, Chris, is IPC is seen as a trusted authority. So if you're putting that together and you're delivering that to the market will trust that, and I think that's important. Chris, always a pleasure to chat.
Always.
Love the work you're doing on the politics side, but also really appreciate the data as well.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.